up, couple to throuple fans? I'm back today for part three, and I could not be more excited because I'm sitting today with Ashmal. And at this point, I've heard from Rehman, I've heard from Jonathan, and it's time that we get your perspective. So I'm so elated that you agreed to join me.
I mean, I told Jonathan and Rehman, I was like, "Are you guys sure you want me to have the last say? Like, really? You know?"
Kind of like
But
the
I'm super
power.
excited.
You're like, I have the last word. I mean, I don't
I
know.
know. Okay, let's go.
I love it. And I connecting really quick, like we both have ADHD, so let's just see where this podcast takes us and what we end up talking about.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like we can go anywhere from like the moon landing was fake to, Kate Middleton, anything.
Anything. Kate Middleton. There's a whole lot to talk about. Really quickly, let me plug your social media. Is that okay? Can I
Yeah,
tell people to
absolutely.
follow?
My Instagram is at Ashmal Ali. But what I would really love is if you guys hit up my Cameo.
Yay!
I think it's Ashmal 411, or I think you can just type in like Peacock Baddie or America's Sweetheart and I'll show up. So,
Oh, I love Peacock Baddie. That is so good. Okay. Perfect. So you heard him. Hit up his Cameo, ask him a question, ask for a birthday wish, ask for whatever, and have fun with
anything but
that.
singing. I will not be singing because I'm so
There,
bad.
unless you're sending like a massive amount. Massive.
I have a price.
Yeah, everyone does. I do too. So let's start basic. Where are you from and what do you do?
So I was actually born in Pakistan, and I came to the U.S. when I was 8 because my parents said we were going to Disney World, and we just never went back.
Okay.
Then I moved to Atlanta, and I lived there most of my life. And then I went to Michigan for law school, Michigan State. That's where I met Rahman because he popped up on like my Bumble radius. And then now I live in Chicago. I am a family lawyer. I do mostly divorces. Let me tell you, I started the job right after the breakup. So like going into family law and doing divorces after a breakup is honestly the most healing thing because I'm learning all their stories and I'm just like, it's like we're clients and I are in the same place, kind of. It was a nice transition for sure.
That's really interesting to hear. And you have such a powerful career. You know what I mean? Like that it like I have friends who have done law school and I've always just looked at them with admiration because it's not something that I would have the stomach or the dedication to like see through.
No, I think for me, it's like coming to the US, I was like fascinated by like Supreme Court cases and everything. I was like, because of these cases, I've gotten so many rights. And like, like even being in a gay relationship, I was like, it wasn't until 2015 where like they officially legalized gay marriage for everyone. Just lawyers argued that and gave me the right. I mean, that's why I've always loved it.
Wow, that's really nice to hear. Thank you for adding that and kind of like what enamored you and what drew you in. I never really thought of it that way because when you think about it, you're we think about how Obama like legalized gay marriage, but you don't think about all of the people behind him that were truly on the grounds doing the work and making the arguments to have basic rights.
And the couples that were brave enough to like be the face of it and go all the way up there, face all that scrutiny like that. I mean, everyone's involved to make it happen. So
Absolutely. It's a beautiful thing. I'm glad that you said that. There's like so many hands in the pot that helped with that.
mhm. But see, also since I'm a lawyer by day, on the show I was like, I'm not a lawyer, so I personally refuse to make sense unless it's on the clock. So I think that's why I had so much fun on the show because I wasn't sending emails or anything. I was just being myself, being a beautiful idiot, and not having to be in attorney mode.
Which is always fun. It's always good to have that duality too and that time to really just like be yourself, not be in like attorney mode and how to handle clients and all these boundaries and stuff.
Mhm.
Has your show experience impacted your career at all? Like, or are people receptive and happy for you that you got on TV? Is it helping the law firm?
So far, I've been really avoiding clients finding it, but
Totally.
I mean, some of them did, but they were just really happy. They were like, I'm in group messages with some of the clients, so they were like, "Oh, is our group message considered a throuple?" Haha, and I was like, like just being like, they're like, "We haven't seen it yet," and I'm like, "You really don't have to, or maybe wait till your divorce is over." But I mean, everyone's been super nice about it. Only a few clients have found it. I have been reached out to by a few law firms actually. Like some partners were watching it, and they were like, "Oh, like we loved you on the show. I'm a like a queer legal partner. when I, would love to have you if you're job hunting, but like I do love my job, so I would like appreciate it, but I would love to connect sometime. So, I mean, career wise, it's been good. I've gotten emails on my work email. I've gotten LinkedIn messages. So, I mean, it's been, yeah, and my boss is super cool. So it's been nice to like, just make it not a big deal here.
I love that. And now you know that you have doors open and opportunities. Should anything ever happen, then you want to, go somewhere else or try something
Mhm.
new out. Um, I've heard from most people actually that career wise, their jobs are usually pretty happy for them and receptive to reality television. It's actually like the general public and like dealing with all of their comments because like the close support systems are usually very encouraging and like happy to see them regardless of even the edit they get. It's like, oh my God, I loved you in that episode. Like you lost it and
Mhm.
I would have done the same thing.
No, and it's funny because when I went on the show, I had a different job, and I couldn't, tell them what show I was going on because we also like it was kind of kept secret a little bit. So they all thought I was going on like The Amazing Race or like Survivor, and I was like, you guys, I have not once camped like voluntarily, so like I don't know where you think I'm going, but I've left that job since, so I think I just kind of let them figure it out.
Totally. Recently, I don't know if you've kept up with Love is Blind at all, but one of the people, the cast members came out and said that how they were cast was they actually called their employer and they were like, hi, like we're calling to speak to AD to see if she'll
Yes,
come
yes,
on
yes.
Love is. I'm like, oh my God, because I would lie to my work potentially. And then it like takes away the option. Like I would be like
Mhm.
stuck like with what to do there.
No, I actually listened to your recaps of Love is Blind. Yeah, and I have to say, I mean, I love your recaps, like with the way you talk about Chelsea, because I honestly think she's an icon and the way she's owning it all, and
I do
she
too.
looked so good in that like finale look that like I was like, she's owning it, kill it, you deserve it, girl. Like,
I agree. And you know what? As we find more and more out about Chelsea, we realize that there's a lot to a person. And sometimes reality television just accelerates our deepest insecurities and our worst traits instead of like the magnitude of the magnificent person that people are.
oh my God, I get it, I get
Yes.
it.
So, with that being said, how did you like how you were portrayed on the show?
I mean, I really enjoyed it. I mean, if we're saying like I loved my edit, honestly, I really,
Good.
I mean, I even like just Ramon and I's story together. Like I, even when I was watching the first three episodes, it was funny because we watched the first three episodes and I'm like, okay, a little rough, and then we had the next three, and like I just remember from being there, I was like, oh my God, those were even rougher times. So like I don't know what the next three are going to be like. So actually, Ramon and I went to a concert that day because like we're not going to watch it that day. But and then I think it was super fun. I think the most validating thing that I've had though is when my friends who are like either long distance or I don't see them all the time, they've just been like when I'm watching it, I feel like I'm hanging out with you. They're like you're exactly the way you are in real life as you are on the show, and like and that just felt like I felt like I was being real, and that was just really validating to hear that from like my family and friends being like you were you. So
A lot of, and since I don't know you, I'm just basing like what I've seen, but a lot of like who you were on the show to me was kind of like the communicator for other people and mostly Rehman because you understood what he was feeling. You were able to verbalize that and, try to clue people in as to what's happening. But do you feel like in real life, your personality is the person that's like the glue and bringing people together as well?
absolutely. I think it really stems from being like the eldest kid in an immigrant family. I feel like or even the eldest sibling, I feel like is always like the PR person of the family. Like you're like booking the flights, you're talking to like the customer service people. So like I've always played that role, and I think that so it just kind of came naturally to me, even in my relationship, and especially on the show. I was like, I feel like I'm good at building connections. So like when I'm with somebody, I just assume like I view it as us. So it's like if I'm doing something, I feel like I'm doing it for us, and like so it didn't necessarily feel like oh I have a job. I felt like that's just what I was doing.
Absolutely. You're just being yourself.
Hmm.
How much of your experience do you think was ultimately impacted by having to kind of like problem solve with Raymond amongst your own issues and also just like communicate to Jonathan, like for him, essentially? Like, how much of your experience was dedicated to just recommunicating?
I feel like a good bit. Like I really was like, oh, it's gonna be a
Hmm.
vacation, and like,
Yes.
girl, it was work, you know.
Yes, that's what I thought.
But I feel like I wouldn't say like it impacted like a negative way or anything. It
Right.
just it did have an effect. You know, I feel like
Absolutely.
that was like my itinerary for the day. Like, you know, if we woke up and like something was off, I'm like, okay, so I have to do my chores, I have to do my rounds, you know, and like check in with everyone. And but I mean, I feel like that was just you don't know what to do there, right? It's like like
Absolutely.
I'm like it kind of filled up my time, gave me something to do, honestly. So
You're like, well, I haven't checked in with Corey for a while, so let's
yeah.
just go see what's happening. Before the show, like, take me through the conversations that you and Raymond were having in your relationship. What boundaries did you guys have for the show? Were you as excited as he was?
So the way I found out about the show was I was sitting for my bar exam, and he had applied, and he comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, we have an interview, by the way." And like, keep in mind, I was like knee deep in bar exam studying. I like
OMG.
was living in my basement apartment and I hadn't seen light. So I was like, okay, fine, I'm gonna go get a haircut. I shaved, I put on a button down, and I was like, we'll just do this interview. And I had so much fun in the interview. And then we found out more, and I was like, yeah, like this. He thought he was like asking something like, oh my God, I applied for a show. I was like, this is fun. Like, thank you for applying. Like, ADHD, I'm not going to fill out an application, but like, he has like the
Get
executive
us
function.
there.
He did. Right. So, and I think I'm just always very like, go with the flow. I like lean into the fun. I'm like, if something's fun, let's do it, you know? And like, I was like, oh, this is going to be so fun. And it was so up in the air. And like, we couldn't talk to anyone about it. So it's kind of like a little secret between ourselves. And like, you know, we'd get an email and we'd get like giddy. And like, it was very fun, very exciting leading up to it. We had no idea what to expect. And I think the reassuring thing was that this was like, they were saying that it's like the first type of show they've ever had like this.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, it's a first for us, it's a first for them. We'll figure it out together. And I honestly didn't put like that much like too much thought or pressure on it. I was like, we'll just see where it goes. I was like, maybe, you know, if I have a job at that point, I'll have to tell them or I'll have to quit. So, you know.
Right. Were you having any reservations? Like, was there anything that you guys talked about where it's like, there's one thing that we have to be cautious of, and it's this?
No, not really. I will tell you, I really went into it like going like, I mean, nothing is gonna affect us. I was like, you know, like I was like, we've like gone through COVID, we've gone through meeting in law school, like, you know, we'll just have fun, you know, like, and I think I was just kind of like, la di da about it, and so we just were like, let's have fun, be ourselves, and like, let's, because I also thought that like I didn't know how it works, so I was like, oh, you know, we'll probably get days to like no camera, and we can like figure it out as we go. So like, it's funny because when we got on the show after like our first fight, I was like, oh my God, like I'm so stupid. We didn't come up with a signal or anything to be like, hey, and then we're just on camera. So we can't come up with a signal. So I was just like, all right, well, we're just, you know, going with the flow.
At this point, I mean, we're in here. Oh my God, that's actually really funny. And you know what? The couples who do save the conversations for off camera on other shows, you can always tell because it's like very
Mhm.
tense, but you don't really know why. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad. This is what I loved about Couple to Throuple. I was so glad to see the vulnerable conversations, actual problems that could be stemming, and just like conflict of personalities, which is so normal and it shouldn't be looked at as a bad thing. Did you, or I'm sorry, what were you hoping to get from the experience? Like, what were you hoping to get out of it?
Honestly, it was just gonna be like I just love meeting new people. So I was like, I wonder like who we're gonna meet, like all the new friends we're gonna make. I was excited to like where we're gonna stay. I was just really excited for like the whole like the didn't not knowing what to expect, but like I just knew we'd be like we'd meet people like us. We'd meet like, you know, and also I didn't know if it was gonna be like all gay people, straight people, mixed. I just had no idea. So I was
Right.
like, and it's like a vacation too. So I was like, you know, at the end of the day, whatever happens, like we get like a vacation.
Totally.
Let's have fun, you know.
I love that. So you just kind of went into it with no harsh expectations. You weren't like, we're going to come home and, you know, have a third, or we're going in here to see if our relationship, you know, is actually durable, or if we're at like a breaking point. You weren't using it as like a test.
No, and I think I've like seen like some responses or some people. I think there's like this idea that we went in there to like save our relationship or something. Like I literally just went in there to have fun. Like truly, like I like found makeup on, but like I really was like there's nothing. It's not like we need. There's nothing wrong. We don't need to save anything. It's just like we're having
Absolutely.
fun, like
Yes.
so.
And
Yeah.
relationships get a little monotonous, like sometimes you just want to see, you guys were already in an open relationship and kind of, correct? Because I think I remember that on the show.
Yeah, so we're open for yeah, we're definitely in an open relationship. And like, we have fun together and stuff, but like I think it was still like we were still new to the whole doing stuff maybe separate thing. Just also because you live together. So like
Yes.
what are you gonna do? Like, like you're live with a person. There's no need to be separate really. But it was more like if you're traveling type thing.
Yes. Which is so interesting because some couples didn't have that dynamic. Like I remember when Maximo and Ash came in, they had mostly private experiences, and this experience was them sort of experiencing together. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So I like to, it's interesting to hear the different perspectives. When you were ultimately in there, were you surprised at how fast Raymond was developing feelings for Jonathan?
I would say a little bit, but like I have always said, like Ramon famously like falls in love in 3 business days, and like it happened in our relationship too. And like he was my first relationship, so I was like, he said I love you, and I was like, whoa, I like you, but I just don't. But I wasn't too surprised. I think it was like one of our dates where we were eating ceviche, and like he started tearing up, and like I was like, that's so real. Like he's really really in it. Like he's really really feeling it, and it just really makes sense with Ron. He's one of those people who just goes all in and gives all into whatever like partner he's with, whatever relationship he's in, whatever connection he's making, he just goes all in and he doesn't hold back. Um, and so it didn't surprise me too much, but like I was like maybe like wait another week,
Right.
but no, it wasn't too surprising just because he has like such a big heart.
Was there any element where you felt like you were trying to have to catch up with your feelings?
Not well. See, like I didn't feel like I had to catch up to Ramon's feelings for Jonathan because I think Jonathan and I were both on the same page that like we spent a lot of time together, but like we realistically only known each other for like a span of days or weeks, right? So like, and I think Jonathan and I had also only had one boyfriend. Like Ramon was my first, and Jonathan had only had one boyfriend before. So I think there was no. I didn't feel like I had to catch up to Ramon's feelings for Jonathan at that time because Jonathan hadn't caught up to those feelings yet either. So I was just like, like we're just here. Let's see how it goes. Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to even know what to expect or what the other person is feeling because you probably feel so unsure in that moment too. It's like, is this me getting wrapped up or am I feeling this? Do you think that there was anything that you could have done in your relationship to make Jonathan not have left? Like, do you think that that was just him needing to kind of like affirm to himself that you guys were really interested? Or what do you think happened there?
I mean, I think from his perspective, like if I was a, a chosen single, like my couple was beefing constantly, like I would be like, you guys need a break. I need a break. But I also think that like I think which is not wrong, but I think he, to a certain extent, also likes the chase aspect. And like, I totally get that. Like, I also love the chase aspect. So I think it was kind of like a way to make sure we weren't, getting too comfortable too fast
Yeah.
in a way. And I also think that he probably didn't like when he was like, well, I'm not there yet. And then Ramon was like, okay, well, I'm going to, reel it in. And then I think Jonathan was probably like, is this how it's going to be all the time if I say something and like it's just like that's the reaction I'm going to get.
Right.
So I think it was also a learning experience for Ramon too after that.
This is definitely a learning experience for everyone involved. And I feel like, especially for you three, because you guys had, I think, the longest relationship, or maybe not, but everybody else, I don't know that anybody's even any. Actually, I'm so sorry. Corey Wilder and Denise
Oh
might
yeah,
still be
yeah. Well,
together.
they were the valedictorians of the program. So like,
100%. Could everybody tell that they were going to, like, were they yards ahead of everyone else?
oh my God, yeah, they were. And I think even just watching it all, like you get to see things you didn't see, and like I just see how like open and honest and vulnerable Corey was being about her feelings, and just like in like the best way, and like Wilder was being so receptive, and Denise was being so receptive. I was like, okay, so they have the tools, you know, like they are, it's no surprise they graduated early, you know.
Absolutely. And you're very like vulnerable and honest and transparent. Like I saw your post where you kind of like made a joke about it where it's like, well, were you watching the show? Like if you don't kind of have a foundation or if you don't have communication, if anybody's shocked that things went awry, you're kind of not, you know what I mean? You're not paying attention. If the foundation's crumbling, of course there's going to be issues. And that's not in a negative way either. I think reality television is a mirror, and I think it shows people private moments and conversations and reactions that you would never want someone to see, and then you watch like with other people.
No, I think just experiencing the whole show was one thing, and that like really did have an effect on just, you know, my decision. But um, watching it was also like, I'm like, oh my God. And even like when Ramon and I were watching it together, I was like, we are literally seeing two people who just genuinely aren't compatible. Like we want different things, and it's so okay. It's so okay. But like, I just don't think it's fair to like, for like you to give me what I want, you have to like fundamentally change things that you want. And like for me to give
Mm-hmm.
you what you want, I would have to be a different person. And like we're too young to sacrifice like that. So I mean, I like was like happy with my decision once again. Yeah, watching it.
That's good to hear. So it sounds like this experience taught you more about yourself and also what you want out of a future partner. So, what are you hoping to find in a future partner? And it's not to imply either, really quickly, that Raymond did not have these qualities. I'm not bashing him, but just your preferences going forward.
No, I like have thought about that a lot, and I think what I realized is that like I just kind of I want somebody a little bit more like me. You know, somebody. I think the biggest thing is I want somebody who reacts to change and reacts to like a new situation or like new people similar to me. You know, I want to be able to like be myself and kind of be with someone who also just like gets energy from other people and not necessarily just one person. I think Ramon was very like he loves his partners or partners and like, he wants to be around them all the time, and I think it's great. I've always envisioned like my partner to be a part of my life and not my life, you know?
I see.
Um
That makes
and
sense.
like, you know, I like I'm single, but like there's always someone special, and like I think what I really like about this person is that like one thing that stood out was they were at one of the premieres and they were like, "Hey, if it gets too much, let me know. Let me know if you need anything." But like they didn't stop there. They were like, "We can go for a walk. I can get you a drink. We can
Mm.
ask them to change channel." I was like, "Wow, action items! Like I love that, you know." And you know, they were also having to see me be on a show with my ex and stuff. I was like, "That's so cool. You can just like sit there and just like watch and like be cool about it." So I think that's what I look for. And like, I mean, even with Ramon and Jonathan, like I really enjoyed certain like Ramon, I very intelligent. I loved like our banter back and forth. Like I love making like jokes that are like, you know, like a certain level, like, you know, like a level two joke, I called it. And I just loved our banter with it. And, you know, like Jonathan was very like emotionally intelligent. I could talk to him about like stuff with friends and things like that and get his advice. So like, you know, it's like love a combo, something like that. Yeah.
And it seems like you want consistency too. Like it seems like with Raymond, when things were good, they were great. And then sometimes things weren't. And it seems like you want someone independent and fully accepting of the fact that when you walk in the room, you do shine really bright and you do love to mingle. And potentially they go and mingle too, you know, versus whether they feel like they need to be attached to your side, or resentment, you know, like what do I do with myself?
Hmm. Absolutely. I just want someone just chill, easy going, you know.
What did you learn about yourself from this experience? Like what have you reflected on and done self-work wise?
I think the two biggest things I learned was like, you know, like obviously went to therapy after this. And I think two biggest things I learned was that I'm really bad at like boundary setting in the beginning. And I think that played a huge part in everything that happened on the show because like Ramon and I started dating in COVID and it was my first boyfriend and like I really liked him. So like and then COVID happened and we would get in fights and like back then he was like shut down way more and like, you know, it'd be like silent treatment longer and like but it's like illegal to go outside. So I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, I just like never set a boundaries for myself saying like, hey, I don't like this or because I was just like, I don't want to leave. So I kind of just was like, let it happen, let it happen. Like after a while, when you establish the pattern of like you don't establish a boundary or what your communication style is, you've kind of just told the other person that I'm going to adopt to yours, you know? And then it wasn't until seeing it on the show, I was like, whoa, next time, establish your boundaries, what you need, and those things. But I think the second thing I really learned was this is so much on me is that I loved doing cute little things and like giving. I do a lot of unspoken things in a relationship, even friendships, and I love doing them. And but sometimes I don't express my own feelings, and then I kind of resent my other partner or another relationship for like just not doing the same thing or just like not
Absolutely.
appreciating it or just not like thinking about that for me because I'm doing like mental gymnastics to come to you. Why are you not? And I think that kind of builds resentment. Like I don't want to do that in any future relationship.
That is so relatable because, I'm in therapy. That's a personal problem that I have. It's really hard to break that. And I admire you a lot for being able to look at that and like actively make changes because that's something that I've been trying to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still open to like being in a throuple?
Yeah, I mean, I am, but like not necessarily like limited to a throuple or anything. I'm not like, oh, I only want to do a throuple or I want to not do, I only want to do monogamy or anything. Um, I think I'm just open to anything. I just think I would not go about it in a way where it's like, oh, like we're a couple and then we're bringing in another person, or I would not want to be another person and act like I could not see myself joining a couple, an established couple, and like trying to have emotional feeling. It's so hard for me to have emotional, deep, romantic emotional connections. It really is. And yeah, I think I could do it in the sense like if I'm dating someone or like going on dates with someone and then I meet someone else, I'm like, oh, like maybe you guys would like each other too, and like maybe we can make that work or something. Or I could see myself doing that. I could see myself being with multiple partners in like different cities, that type of thing.
Yes.
But I do like want to have kids, and I do want like marriage someday. But I think that's all we can figure it out. I'm
Yes.
young.
There you go. Beauty. There's beauty in youth.
Mhm.
I have to go back for just a second because my ADHD kicked in before this question, but this is what I was trying to say. I end up not saying how I feel about things because I'm such a people pleaser that it feels like I am going to really, really hurt someone. And it comes from a place of fear of abandonment. I've talked about with my therapist where it feels like if I do communicate how I'm feeling, you may leave or this person may whatever. But it's interesting because then when they communicate the most basic thing that was like so small, it's like, how dare you bring this to my attention? You know what I mean? Like I keep picturing like Real House of Beverly Hills, like, how dare you, you beast? Like, how dare you say anything to me? I let everything slide. I see the passive aggressiveness. I don't say a word. And then all of a sudden I slip up. I'm having a moment and it's a response.
No, it's literally it's like in those moments I'm like, I'm sorry, where did you get the audacity to ask that of me after I've been doing, but it's like they don't know. So I'm like,
Exactly. Exactly.
but
And
also
that's the
then,
work.
but I also don't want to like not do those things because I love doing those things and I love
That's the thing.
showing up and caring. And I think in episode 2 when I'm like crying randomly, like it cuts to me crying, like they cut out a lot, but like, and I go, maybe I should just be a shittier person.
I do remember that.
That I think that's what I was talking about. It's like I do all
You
these
were.
mental gymnastics and these things, and I'm like, it's not being like noticed or like appreciated. But then I'm being asked to like give you more support right now. Like, are you kidding me? So
And
it's like,
that's what really like got Raymond to like, like someone needs something to bring them back. And I remember watching that because first of all, I related so heavily, but I really did like that reassurance for a moment. Like, oh my God, wait, no, everything nice that you say, all of these sweet thoughts, all of your affirmations are things that I'm not capable of doing all of the time. And the fact that you do it is something I'm appreciating all day. And I need to be like better at vocalizing that.
for sure.
So I got to hear Raymond's perspective on where things went wrong after the show. What's your PO?
Obviously I did my homework. I listened to both their perspectives. Um, but I think what really like happened was I think you could kind of I mean my close friends can really tell, like they can see it later in the later on episode. They're like, oh, you were checked out. And like I was just like trying to survive. Honestly, I was trying to stay at this resort, have a, like enjoyment the rest of my time. And I was like, I think our fights even got like less bad because I just was like, I don't need to get my point across right now. I just need to make it to dinner, you know? So
Hmm.
like, we're more on the same page. But I think from that, just being on the show and just seeing the way how we're so different, and the Ramon and I, the way we like respond to things and the way we respond to change, it's just I was like, whoa, there's like a fundamental difference. And like, in order for this like rest of the experiment to like go fine, I just kind of have to put myself to the side. And I was like, I can do that right now. I just don't think I can do that in the real world. So like, we'll see. And then when we got in the real world, like it was, there was that new relationship energy, and it was like, you know, giddy and stuff and those things. But like, I just am one of those people that I don't think like effort is like a depleting resource. So I don't think that like if
Mm.
I'm giving my friends 50%, I don't see it like, oh, I'm giving my friend 50%, so I can only give you my like partner 50%. Or if I'm like giving this partner like 50%, I have to give the other partner 50. I just view it as like I'm giving 100% of myself to whoever I'm with, wherever I am. And I just don't feel like I would think I'm like, oh, like let's go do something random on this day. And like
Hmm.
we would go on dates and stuff, but it was just like, oh, like if Jonathan's coming, it was kind of like, oh, like, either like let's not go out this night because we won't get enough sleep. Because, it was kind of that thing. And I was just like, I kind of want like, I want to enjoy my life,
Right.
And so that was one aspect of it. I think another thing is like if we would get in tips or something, we were just so busy after the show. Either he would be visiting, we'd be going somewhere, we'd be visiting the cast or something. So anytime we'd have a tip, we didn't really get time to like fix it because we would just have to be okay by the time we had visitors. Or like, my friends would come visit those things. We were just really busy, never got to address anything deep. And I think in terms of like the Throuple situation, like the emotional connection people saw like on the show with Jonathan and I, it just like that's where it stayed. Like it just like I'm really hard. I It's really hard for me to have emotional feelings in a romantic way for people. Ramon was like the first guy I actually had emotional feelings for, and that just like that one caught me by surprise, came out of nowhere. So I like that was it was a brand new thing, and I
Right.
think I only develop feelings when I'm not looking for them. And
Hmm.
I think since we were on a show and like we were supposed to like get to know somebody and like kind of develop feelings, and like Ramon's like already at the altar waiting for two husbands. I'm like, okay, so it wasn't natural to me. And I kind of just honestly I view Jonathan as like a friend. Like in my head it was like my relationship with him was kind of like a friend's plus. Like I have really deep emotional connections with my friends. Like I care for them, I want the best for them. And it kind of was that. I don't think for me it really translated romantically that much.
Hmm.
And then I kind of was like, okay, so like it's not there for me yet. Like, and he's a great person. I just like couldn't see all like I couldn't hear the bells like, and I think him and I were kind of on the same page, like and I think Vermont was very the hopeful kind, but when Jonathan and I would just like when it would just be us going out, like we'd go out to like dancing and stuff, him and I would like get a little drunk and we kind of just be honest, and we'd be like, he's like, dude, I want to get married and have kids. I'm like, dude, me too. Like, how does this work? Like, so we were able to kind of have those real conversations. Like, this is new. Like, we
Yes.
just did an experiment where like we're learning all these terms and everything, and like it's so normal, but it is still new to us.
Hmm.
Um, and then I think for me, like I was just like, I'm with somebody who I'm not compatible with, and I think in order to make them happy, I have to like change myself, and I have to like be by this person's side all the time. And in a way, I feel like I'm being held back. And then uh, in addition, we're in a throuple,
Right.
so I just kind of when I was like in LA, like I was just like I am expected to like just be by your side constantly, like when we're in Chicago. And then like when we're in a throuple, like, and also it was amazing though when Jonathan would come and like I was like, my boyfriend has a boyfriend, I can go have fun on the dance floor. I can go like meet my friends, like, and I don't like PDA. Like if like I don't.
I
So
remember
like
you saying that on the series that that's not
yeah.
really your thing.
And they would be like we would go to dinner and like we'd be at dinner with friends, like they'd be like touching their shoulders, and it's not that I would like be mine. I would just be like, if any of my other friends were like that touchy at dinner, I would be like, can you stop? Like I can't because he's my boyfriend. So like, um, but so that would that was kind of nice. It kind of was like like I have a boyfriends that are like boyfriends that are they were like with each other. Um, but yeah, and then I was in LA and I was just like, I am expected to be by your side in Chicago all the time. But now we're in a throuple, so it's like all of a sudden it's like, is it like you just need a person by your side?
Mhm.
It like, and at that point I kind of had this moment of like, I mean, I was just like, I'm not just a person, like I'm not a place. It's like I
Mhm.
want to be. It's like at every job I get, like I want to be the personality hire. I don't want to be hired because of
Yes.
like my paper. I want to be hired for who I am. And I was like, let's just call it quits.
Mhm.
And I also am from the mentality like I'm not a pick me. Like I'm not like a pick me person. Like
Mhm.
so I'm like I'm leaving you guys. Like please keep dating. I'm not gonna stop. Who am
Mhm.
I to stop you just because I don't want to date? Right? Like I'm like you guys keep going. And I genuinely meant it. Like I genuinely meant it when we lived in Chicago. I was like, hey, like, I know you guys are dating, so like feel free to like just if you guys are gonna come, if he's gonna come stay, just, like I don't mind, just let me know. Like I just will like either if I'm not in town or if I'm in a friend's place, I don't really care. But also we were living together, so I also made it known to my mom, like, hey, I'm not gonna bring somebody back to our house
Mhm.
while you're here, just out of respect for you.
Mhm.
And and I think it was the same. We had the same thing with each other. So
Absolutely. Hold on, let me think about where this is going because my ADD, I'm so sorry. It'll come back to me.
I also answered like 6 questions I feel like at the same time.
It
So
was
sorry.
so good though. No, that really, really helped me. And I was like taking notes and kind of feeling weird. Okay, I know. Because you sort of started to pull back and have some realizations during the process, and you were sort of kind of in survival mode, do you think that that made it a little bit easier to digest the fact that they were still maintaining a relationship? And remember, like, you started dating in 2019, so that's like 3, almost 4 years of a relationship. Did that help that you had already had these massive realizations start coming in?
Absolutely. So I think the hardest part about a breakup, I feel like it's like yes, making the decision to break up, and then like oh, like I'm not gonna have this person in my life because I'm choosing to leave them, and but I think truly the hardest part for me about a breakup, about this breakup was like I know that Ramon was hurting. So it was honestly really nice that they were dating because I was like, he still has somebody
Right.
who he can rely on emotionally because you guys saw, like you said, like I was putting in a lot of work to like be there for Ramon's feelings and like identify his feelings and like translate those. So I was like, I may be like clocking out, but like there's another employee who's clocking in. So I can now focus on myself. And like I
Hmm.
really had that time to like be me. I got to dance so much, and like I was like going out with my friends again and like I don't know. It was just a very me time. I realized like what I want, what I don't want, and all these things. And like it was nice to like be able to build a friendship with Ramon at the time. And also like living together like really did make up the breakup part easier because like you're still seeing the person, you're still like hanging out, you're still like and like so it's still like you get it's fine. And like at the same time, I'm like being able to like go out, date people, like kind of find myself, work on myself, those kind of things.
It ended really well for both of you because here's the thing is after talking to Raymond as well, his confidence is there because you are such a personality and so enjoyable to be around. And also, like, let's call it what it is and add COVID. Everybody got codependent during COVID. So the
Well,
fact that, like, after that almost anxiety of being away from your partner transitioned for Raymond, and it still felt like that desire to be close. I remember. Thank you. That was it.
mhm, mhm.
So he has confidence now as well. Like now because that codependence is taken away and both of you are really exploring and stepping into your shine and just how great each of you are. Now he, has to do the mingling and the self-realization like, "Oh wow, I mattered too. People really did want me there. Like I wasn't just the plus one." You know what I mean?
Mhm, mhm,
So
mhm.
it seems like it kind of helped both of you realize and step into how amazing you both are.
And I was listening to that interview and it made me so happy because I was like, these are all things I knew about him. Like these are all things I liked about him. And like it's like I would not want to date someone who I don't think is great. Like
Absolutely.
and it was really nice to hear those things like him saying that because one thing I will say is like what the show didn't show, and I feel like what people realize after hanging out with Ramon a little bit more, he is so funny, and he's one of those like I'm a comedian. It's like I do it on purpose. It's like my bread and butter, right? Ramon is so funny without trying. Like he'll just say things, and I'm like, was that an original thought? And he's like, yeah, why? I'm like, and even when we most recently when we went to LA, him and Brittany were like really really getting close, and like her and I were FaceTiming last week, and she goes, Ashmal, I didn't know how fucking hilarious Ramon is. Like that man's cracking me up, and he doesn't even know. And I'm like, literally, like.
That is such an Aquarius thing. Nobody come for me in my comments because people are always like, zodiac signs don't mean anything. Aquarius, naturally funny. I'm an Aquarius. I'm a riot. I don't care. I know I am. And that's an Aquarius thing. The Raymond has it. I think Brittany's an Aquarius too.
Brittany, Corey, and Ramon are all Aquariuses. I will say, thing about Aquariuses is the thing is they're like, oh my god, I just killed somebody, but like I'm an Aquarius, and I'm like, okay.
That part scares me. Also, the people who are like, I just came down from a spaceship, but I'm an Aquarius. Like,
yeah,
the alien thing kind of freaks me out a lot.
and I think it has to do a lot with like I think some people like are born during like a retrograde. I think Ramon is an Aquarius who was born during like the Big Bang because he is the most unique Aquarius I've ever met. So yeah, and you know, I mean, I think it's obvious I'm a Cancer. So
I love it. See, this is my first conversation with a Cancer because I don't like maybe Cancers don't like me. Like I know Pisces don't really love my sign, like love me or love my sign, but I don't have very many friends that are Cancers. But what I've always heard is most genuine, most heartfelt, great playlists. I've heard great playlists made by Cancers for some reason,
oh
music
really?
wise. I don't know why.
Oh, I've no one's ever complimented my taste in music ever. So I you know,
Maybe I'll
but
be the first.
but the funny thing about Pisces is that up until last year, I thought it was pronounced Pisces. So I would say that out loud, and no one corrected me.
That's actually really funny.
But I didn't know any, so I like it never came up that much. But like, you know, I fixed that.
Oh my God. There's so many things I pronounce wrong that nobody corrects me on. So I find that highly relatable. Okay, circling back to LA really quick. So we saw the beef between Maximo, Ash, you, Raymond. Raymond said that he settled things in LA at the watch party. Did you have the same resolution or how are things now?
So I honestly, when I saw them talking, I was like, oh, like good, like you're that's the spokesperson of the beef. So like you handle it with him, I'm good. Like, and they talked. Ramon was like, I think they talked for 15 minutes. I swear, I thought they talked for 30. So like when Maxwell came up to me and he was like, hey, I do want to talk to you. I like said this to him, and I didn't mean it in a rude way, and I think he understood I didn't mean it in a rude way. I was like, Maxwell, like, bro, you and I are good. I want to dance. No beef. You and I are good. I'm just at the premiere. I want to dance. And like he
Totally.
got it and we just danced. Like I was like, you handled it with him. Like I don't want to sit down. I really just like the music was so good and I had to.
It was never really your issue, anyways. Like, I'm kind of thinking back. I don't really think you wanted anything to do with it, like a
No,
conversation, even.
I was ready to move on. Like I was ready to move on to Frank. Like Frank and I are in each other's DMs. Like I was on an experiment. I was like, okay, on to the next. Like, you know.
Right, but you're like, wait, you're not ready to move on? Like, what's happening here?
I was like, okay, well, okay, maybe Frank, and then maybe we'll try Sadie. Love Sadie, still have a crush on her. They wouldn't let me pick Brittany because she's in a couple. So,
I was actually going to ask you next. So Raymond mentioned Lena, but I was wondering if you guys had any differences because you said at some point in the show you typically never agree on
never.
someone. Never. Yeah. So who was it? Sadie?
Sadie, we agreed on. I love Sadie.
I'm
We
looking her up.
we had a little what's it called? A slogan. I was like, if we're gonna pick a lady, we're going with Sadie. Say it with me. Say it with me.
She's so
Um,
cute. Is this her?
yes, yes, and
Love.
she is a great dancer too. And I'm actually going to New York next week, so like I'm gonna see her and Brody. Like I just love like the new people we've met. But yeah, Sadie for sure.
Your
Sadie,
reaction to Brody in the confessional, you and Raymond, was I was in tears. Like you're like, Brody, like read the room. And I was like cackling because so true. It was so true.
they did him dirty. They literally did not tell me he was allowed to walk into a loaded. Also, can we talk about that conversation? It was like I'm upset you had a backup plan. I was like, you're upset I had a backup plan if you're going to blindside us and you blindside us and you're mad I have a backup plan? Like, I was like, make it make sense.
And also, there was like a lot to unpack there. Like, I was kind of like, who's mad at who? Like, going back and forth. Who's right?
And I also could not take myself seriously beefing with an ascot on. I was like, really, I'm wearing ascot in 95-degree weather with a velvet suit on. I was dying.
I was also dying to know how hot it was because at times it looked sweltering.
It's the hottest I've ever been in my life. I understand like what they mean by like if you're close to the equator, and once again, I don't know if we are close to the equator, but I just felt it. It was I was so truly so worried that like in the show they would show us all the sweat, all the sweating,
Uh-huh.
but like I don't know what they did, but they just made sweat like a highlight or something. I was glistening in the confessional, so I'm like they did something good, but you actually can tell a little bit when there's like a conversation I think going on with like at a white party or so, party with like Peach and them, but like they're the foreground, so they didn't edit out the sweat in the background. We're having a conversation. I was like, that's truly how sweaty I was.
Oh
And
my God. I'm going to go back and look because Jonathan, I noticed the entire time.
so they actually, I think, did him dirty on the finale when he was like sweating. Or I think they edited us a little bit more, but like because I think we even said like that boy's sweating. So I
You
think
did.
that's why they showed it.
I remember thinking like it's either really hot or like I should make no comment because Jonathan might have hyperhidrosis. You know what I mean? So like one of the
Yeah.
two.
No, I think I mean, I also do think I have hyperhidrosis,
Same.
but it was on the show though. It was insane. Like, and then that plus mosquitoes, like actual mosquito bites, not the ones on the necks that we would wake up with. But like that was it was I was scratching all the time. I was like, I really hope they don't have scenes of me just scratching, like
Oh, just like recklessly.
my legs were so bad.
I can't no off. Like there's nobody could provide anybody some off.
The mosquitoes there are like immune. So like they in America, in the US, we get bug spray that's like DEET free because like DEET is like a carcinogen. But the mosquitoes there, you have to get it with DEET, or else like, and even with DEET, they sometimes survive. So you just have to keep reapplying. It's insane, and you can't like touch your mouth after doing it because it's like the carcinogens in it. It was crazy. There were huge mosquitoes. Yeah.
I would have actually died because I'm allergic to mosquitoes. And if you can picture like Pleakley from Lilo and Stitch, where like the one eye, like I would just be like a huge mosquito bite. It would actually be disgusting. Was the food
Hmm.
good?
Oh, it was so good, and they were like so like anything you wanted, they would give it for you. I will say, right before the first pairing ceremony, they like had beans, and I literally like went to in my microphone. I was like, "You guys want us to pick a single, and you're giving us beans for dinner? Like, who thought this through?" Like,
Do
what?
you know if they're listening all the time? Because
They're
on
always
Squid Games, they were. Okay.
they're always a thing. I mean, we were like, I mean, Ron and I were like hitting on one of the hot producers. We didn't realize he had us in his ear. And we're literally talking about him like while he's walking in front of us, and then he like turns around. I was like,
Oh my God. See, that
I
would
mean, we kept
freak
going,
me
but
out.
like.
Yeah, I mean, I would eventually get used to it, but it would be like at first, like I'm not sure who would be hearing me, but like get ready for my mouth. You know what I mean?
Mhm, mhm.
Is there anything else that you would like to say or share about the show, your life updates?
Um, I overall like I love the experience. I like really enjoyed meeting everybody. I literally left with like some like lifelong friends. I feel like, and I don't know. I'm really happy with the friendship Ramon and I have. I hope to see. I mean, fingers crossed. I really envision a day where like like he has a new partner and like you know we introduce ourselves and like if we can all hang out. Like I hang out with his while we were dating, and even after the breakup, we would hang out with his ex and his ex's new partner. And I love his ex's new partner. Like we came out the same. I also when I saw Jonathan in New York, also Jonathan didn't first of all didn't tell me it was he was seeing somebody. Like he was just like a friend in town, and I was like, oh yeah, like bring him, whatever. And then I'm like really vibing with them, and like we're all like hanging out. And then the guy goes to the bathroom, and I literally looked to Jonathan. I was like, bro, you can tell me. It's like, I was like, you got the wrong one. Like, I am not affected by this. Like, I'm so happy for you. Like, and I was like, he's so cute. Like, super happy for him. Like, in his interview, he's like, oh, I told Ashmal. I was like, girl, you did not. I asked you. Okay.
The
Um,
tea. I love
And
it.
also, I think one big thing I really did learn overall is like I have a really big problem in any relationship of being told what I can and cannot do. So I think even like moving forward, I don't think I could be in a full monogamous relationship ever. I
Hmm.
mean, I just maybe not. I just think it's like it feels like a hard and fast rule.
Yeah.
And I just really don't operate well with rules. And I don't know, even when we were having like when we would have the open closed conversation in our throuple, I was just like, guys, like we're in a throuple. Like be fucking for real. Like we're gonna be closed. This is already non traditional. Like with the sanctity of a throuple, like let's be real.
Right.
Right. Um and I think it was I do want to say that during that time I would be like, why is Rahman like keep bringing this up? I think it's been obvious that we're like, we're open, like, um, but I used to get really mad at Rahman. I was like, why are you asking? Like, we've been clear with it. But I think it's like later on I found out like it's just more like what we were saying in a throuple conversation was different than like I think what Jonathan and Rahman were talking about. I think Jonathan wasn't saying no, I don't want to be open, but I think he was saying like, well, I'd be really upset if you guys like, or if you hooked up with someone, or if you. So I think that's where his confusion lies.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, let's just like, if you're gonna be open, just like advice to everybody. If you're gonna be open. Just say it. And if you're gonna be open, I understand like you can still feel some type of way about that person hooking up with
Mm-hmm.
someone else, but it's on you to do the work
Mm-hmm.
to like work on that because you know that if you were to hook up with someone, they would feel that way too. So then it's up to them to put in the work, right? So it's
Yes.
like it's a little bit of work, but like it can be fun.
Not to mention, I feel like Jonathan did feel, like a little bit left out, which makes sense just because of location, because he's in Chicago. I'm sorry, he was in New York. You guys are in
Yeah.
Chicago. But from your perspective, you were also feeling a little bit left out too, because it's like, this is your partner that you like started this experience with. Their relationship is kind of completely different. And it's kind of like, since they were progressing and getting more attached, sort of independently, it's almost like you feel like, well, I should be exploring other things as well. That's how I would feel, at least.
No, so that was my thing. I was just like, if that's happening, that's truly fine. Like, I
Right.
really like keep going, but like during the week, I am playing the role of the house husband, right? So
Yes.
it's like I want to go
Yeah.
and do my thing, and I
Hmm.
think that's a lot where the resentment came from. So I was just like, I'm not doing this. I'm
I get
picking
it.
me. So like, even with the breakup, I like when I broke up with Ramon, I was just like, like we were in an Airbnb, and I was like, well, I rented the Airbnb, but I was like, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna go to Brittany's. I'm like packing my stuff. I broke up with Ramon, and I just thought like that was understood, right?
Right.
I'm like, but Jonathan was like sitting there while I'm packing my stuff, and he goes, wait, you're leaving? That means you're leaving this too? And I literally was so shocked by that question. I went, yeah, like I'm packing my shit in an Airbnb that I rented. Like obviously I'm leaving everything, but like I did, I felt bad later on that like I didn't even like think about him in the breakup. So like I texted him. I was like, hey, like I just want to apologize for the abruptness of it, but like I'm not apologizing for like cheating. But
Right.
it was funny though because even after we left LA that first time, got on the plane. Ramon and I landed in Chicago. He's in New York. I still think he didn't get it at first because he texted our group message and was like eating a cheese plate. And I literally looked at Ramon. I was like, "Can you get your man? Like, can you please get your man?"
I feel so like poor Jonathan. He's like, listen, if me, like, I don't know if you're just leaving him or if it's us, but I'm still going to text the group chat because maybe
And
not.
last thing, let's talk about ADHD and polyamory. Like, I hate texting. So, like, Ramon and I also, just in general, we don't text. We'll FaceTime, we'll call, or we'll like text. When we were in a relationship, we text a little bit. But like, you live with you, I don't like texting, right?
Right.
It's like so much work. So then when you're awful, you're like, I'm texting Jonathan individually, I'm texting her group message, I'm texting Ramon individually. But if I respond in the group message, I have to respond to each individual person. I'm like, oh my God.
That's like so overwhelming. I like wouldn't be able to respond to anybody for fear that they communicate with each other. Like I just heard from Ashmal. It's like,
Yeah,
or like
yeah.
then you
And
go onto
I'm
your social media and it's like, why haven't you responded in the group chat? Like,
Yep, it was literally like the Matrix. I was like, okay, I have to send this text at this time, and like, oh my God, yeah, it was a
meanwhile, you're
lot.
just like stressed out. Like it's like, this is too much for me. I can't even like compartmentalize.
And I'm like, I don't even have time to open because I have to like text all these people.
People are like, what are you doing? You're like, I'm sending my texts. Like, I'm
I
sorry.
am struggling to survive right now. Like,
I'm in survival mode.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like this was really fun. I feel like the only thing I want to know is who do you hang out with the most now?
I feel like hangout wise, I think I've seen Dylan and Lauren the most because they have friends in Chicago. Actually, one of their friends reached out to me. She's like, "Hey, we're friends with Dylan and Lauren. Like, would love to see you at St. Patty's weekend. So like, we're gonna meet up." But I see Dylan and Lauren. I think we see them the most. I think Brittany and I FaceTime like once a week, once every 2 weeks at
Love.
least. Becca, I keep up with everyone through FaceTime. So Becca and I are always either FaceTiming or going on live and stuff. Love Jess. Frank and yeah, Frank and I are in each other's DMs all the time. He posted a picture in Scruff the other day. Like, he had Scruff, and I was like, Frank, I'm
Frank
booking my
slays
flight
every
to
picture.
LA right now. And he was like, I'm booking it to Chicago. And I was like, you first. So it's been fun. And like, I'm going to see Brody and Sadie when I go to New York. And yeah, so I think I keep up with mostly all the couples. Corey and Wilder, I feel like I keep up with them a little bit less just because I think Wilder's not as much on Instagram. And I think Corey, I just respond and stuff.
Totally.
But yeah, I think I just it's nice keeping up with everyone. Like, and we have our group message and stuff going, and it's fun.
And would you ever go on another reality show?
I mean, I had so much fun. I really would. I really would. I would do this one all over again. Maybe as a single. Or I would. I definitely would want to go on another reality show. Nothing like physical though.
No, same.
Not like.
I would love to see you on like The Circle or something.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Do you know
yeah,
what
yeah.
that is?
I mean, yes, but it's just so isolating.
Oh, so true. So true.
I would drive myself crazy.
Actually, I would too.
Yeah.
That's the main reason I'd never applied for that show. So
Mhm.
never mind. I'll think of something
Yeah,
better and convey it another
yeah.
time.
No, I mean, I don't want much. I'll just do Dancing with the Stars. It's fine.
Yeah, that's okay. And like a couple million to do it as well.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
I'm a
Um,
simple guy.
thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I had so much fun. What was I
No,
going to
and
say?
thank you
Sorry.
so much for having me. I love your recaps. I love the ADHD energy. Like,
I'm sorry
and
that it
I
was so
also
bad today.
no, I also love like how you take time to like look at the nuance, look at the context of every like situation. Like your Chelsea recaps are so good because you're like, hey, we have to take this into account. But you're like, okay, but Chelsea, that was insane. And I love that. Yeah.
Yes. Like it's like I can acknowledge bad behavior. I can call it out as much as the next person, but let's just like look at maybe the 30 years of life that got us here and try to apply that a little bit to what we're seeing on show. And I
Mhm.
feel like people just don't want to do that. You know what I mean? I don't blame them. A lot of people watch reality television to project or distract from their own life, but thank you for saying that because that's not my vibe.
And I think the response we've gotten from the show, like I've really been overwhelmed by like how kind everyone like has been and stuff. But like I will say, like it did surprise me how people will go out of their way to like leave a mean comment about someone else.
Hmm.
Like I'm like I mean I actually just don't even like those. Or any time a comment says something like, "Oh, like you were so good," comma, but, and then they mention someone else. I'm like, I don't. It's just not nice. These are real people.
Agreed. I agree.
So I appreciate like you taking the time to like really get to know the people you'll be reviewing. So that's good.
Thank you so much. I wish you the best of luck. I can't wait to touch base with you again. I feel like when you're next on a show, we'll do something, or if you ever just want to do like a check back episode, like update a year after Couple to Throuple, like
Mm-hmm.
I would love to have you back on the
Oh, absolutely.
podcast.
Yeah, I love that.
Have a great day. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening. Make sure to follow Ashmal, everyone.
Bye, guys.